Hello, wrestling fans. Nate Maxon here at the WrestleNet Radio Podcast YouTube page, and this is our first ever show that is going to be exclusively for YouTube, where you will see our ugly mugs for this show.
YouTube.
The gang's all here at the WrestleNet Radio YouTube page, where get ready to be entertained via video for once in a while for us. Usually you just hear us. Now you're going to see us. And this show is going to be fun because what we're doing is we're just going to pick out of my hundreds of wrestling magazines I have here. We're going to pick a wrestling magazine and go through it cover to cover. And like I told the guys before the show, if we read through every article, we'd have a 5-hour show here. And that's not what we're trying to do. What this is going to be is we'll start with the front cover. We'll go through the magazine, go through what the articles were. Maybe I'll read some of the captions or a paragraph or two out of a story, just so we can have a discussion about what we all loved as kids, pro wrestling magazines. And of course, there's the rankings. And of course, there's the advertisements as well. Let's not forget about those. I will dig into some of those too.
X-ray glasses.
The four horsemen of the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network are here. Of course, I am Nate Maxon along with my brother Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
Mr. Archie Mitchell.
What's up? And just a quick disclaimer: now that you see us, please don't let that hurt the viewership. I know we're ugly, but we still got our voices, so just listen, don't look.
Yes. I'm hoping it improves my OnlyFans numbers.
We got faces for radio here. And then of course
I'm like paying people.
Mark Brew is here as well.
And just a quick disclaimer, we're not actually a gang. Please don't come after us.
Right.
No, bring it.
No, bring it.
That was more for the government agencies, not people, because we'll kick your ass.
Right.
Well, the magazine we have decided to go through on this first episode is Sports Review Wrestling from February of 1986. And the reason this got picked is because there's a pimp-ass picture of Junkyard Dog on the cover in his white tights with a white pimp hat, and he's looking pimp. And the headline, "Beware of Dog, Junkyard Dog puts the bite on Terry Funk." And we will get to that. Also, on this cover, special year-end bonus, your 1986 date book featuring your favorite wrestlers' birthdays.
Ooh.
I wonder if they made that up. They made up the birthdays. From referee to wrestler, Nick Patrick's own story. Sports Review interview, a guy that Aaron likes, Jimmy Garvin. And Rick Rude's claim. Rick Rude's claim, the Von Erich stabbed me in the back. Let's see. This was $1.75 in the States, $2 in Canada. So the Canadians had to pay a little more to get their. That's
loony that they had to pay so much.
But if you paid it in American currency, it was like 75 cents. So
it's like the Chris Jericho the Chris Jericho Christian bet. I'll bet you $1 Canadian.
Canadian, right?
Let's see here. The first ad. Get in on the profits in small engine service and repair. Start your own money-making business. You can send in, and these people will send you some hokey-looking thing that's going to get you started as a small engine repairman. And it doesn't even tell you the price. It send this today for a fact-filled free booklet. So they're not even telling you the price yet. So it's ridiculous.
So when you get the booklet, you're like, what?
And now you're on their mailing list.
Yeah. What do you mean a diagnostic machine?
Let's see. Another one. And this one, I love it how they're not specific. Like they don't tell you what you're actually getting into. The fastest, easiest $100,000 you'll ever make in your life. Without a penny of investment, without leaving your home, within 90 days, and working about 1 hour a day or evening. $100,000 in 1986. And they didn't even have OnlyFans back then.
And they don't tell you what it is?
Let's see here. It's very small print, and I'm old.
But you have on glasses.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
Mark saying what everybody watching is thinking. You have glasses.
I'm just saying they don't even tell you what the job is.
This is how they treat you in the sex trafficking back
That's
then.
what I was gonna say. It's sucking dick. Probably sucking dick.
Let's see.
You like to meet
No,
new
it
people?
literally doesn't tell you how you're actually going to earn this money.
Giving up ass or mouth.
That's great.
All right.
Before
So
there
now
were Craigslist killers, and there were classified killers.
the next ad, start your own money-making business. At least this one tells you what it is. Make up to $26 an hour even while learning. Train fast at home. You can be your own boss by training to be a locksmith.
All right.
Jesus. A locksmith.
Rush this coupon today to us for this fact-filled free booklet. And you send all your information to this company, and they're going to send you some hobo locksmith kit.
Here's a lock, here's a toothpick, and here's a tweezer.
I wonder how
Make
many.
it work.
Don't you have to go through something legal to be a locksmith?
That's
Like
what
you're
I
not
was
just
saying,
allowed
yeah.
to-
They just sent you something super illegal.
Wonder how many criminals that ad made.
Well, we are looking through wrestling magazines.
Breaking and entering 101.
So the first, let's see here, page 5, it's the mailbag. We have notes here of course, letters from people around the country. You never knew with wrestling magazines, was anybody actually writing these, or were the people that wrote the magazine just writing them? You can send letters to Mailbag, P.O. Box 48, Rockville Center, New York, 11571. The first note is entitled Lost in the Junk.
Ew.
God.
They're
God.
writing a letter about how you shouldn't subscribe to that first ad we saw.
Right.
I got lost in the junk. The junkyard dog is the best, a blue ribbon candidate, a canine extraordinaire. With a couple of breaks, the dog could be the WWF Intercontinental Champion. At WrestleMania, JYD and Greg Valentine had Greg Valentine at his mercy. I have never seen Valentine so confounded and confused. It is a tribute to the dog's versatility that he was able to tie Valentine up constantly. The same Valentine that has given Hulk Hogan so many tough matches. Now that Tito Santana is the Intercontinental Champion and Hulk Hogan remains WWF Champion, I think that it's time for JYD to pick up the stakes and take it to another territory.
That's a fake letter. No wrestling fan wrote those words. That was a fucking writer.
Let me flip to page 53 here because that's
There
where
was
the
a real one.
mailbag
Be like, me
continues.
like the dog. Dog is good.
Who dat?
Roof.
Who dat?
He used to pimp my auntie.
You can rent her on page 83.
Let's see. Road to ruin. It had to happen sooner or later. It was inevitable. Over the last year, the Road Warriors had become too cocky. Oh, wait. They missed a thing here. There should be an I here. I agree with most critics who peg the Legion of Doom as the standard by which all other tag teams must be measured, but lately they have been letting their guard down. They've been resting on their laurels and not moving forward. That's from Joe Carpenter in Minneapolis.
All right.
Do you believe it?
No.
Lost in the junk. That's great. Let's see what we got next. Oh, another ad. Sample import. How to start your own big profit home import business. My plan starts you fast. Shows you how to buy below wholesale. And they're going to send you a free sample import to sell to somebody, I guess. There's pictures here of like sunglasses, what looks like a sex toy, a mailbox, a woman in a bikini, a grandfather clock.
They send you a
In
woman
other
in a
words,
bikini?
you're going to have a ton of fucking tchotchkes in your goddamn garage.
I was gonna say they're gonna
Your
send
wife-
you a bunch of sea turtle or seahorses.
and your wife is gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Anybody want
Dude.
to buy this ashtray? Where'd you get it from? A wrestling magazine.
or she's gonna be like, "Who broke into our red room?"
Here's your question of the month this month. Top wrestlers answer your question of the month. I'll read a few of the answers from these wrestlers. We know the wrestlers didn't answer the questions. We know the writers of the magazines did. But back then, we all thought the wrestlers answered the questions because we were stupid kids.
Yeah, that was the lure to get us to write in.
It's to get on a mailing list. It was all about getting you on a mailing list. The question of the month is, what do you think is the worst part of making a living as a professional wrestler? I'm going to read you the wrestlers, and you guys tell me if you want to hear their answer. Do you want to hear King Kong Bundy's answer?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The worst part about making a living as a professional wrestler, according to King Kong Bundy, is you got to put up with fans who call you a fat freak, and then you can't beat them up because there'll be hell to pay if you do. Any little gerbil who thinks I'm fat, I challenge him to punch me in the stomach. Their fist will bounce right off. The only freak of nature I know is Andre the Giant.
Dryer's done.
What about exotic Adrian Street?
It was definitely, proven that statement was false. That's what it was.
I want to hear what Adrian Street has to say.
Go for it.
One of my favorites.
He said, "Good Lord, the bloody fans are so narrow-minded here in the States. I don't appreciate the jolly sardonic witticisms these peasants come up with, demeaning my masculinity and all." At least they got his character down with that answer, even though he didn't write it.
I would have been like a heel rider. I'd have been like, the worst part of being a wrestler is having to answer the questions of all these dumbass fans.
Right.
Come up to me, went an autograph. Brian Adidas. I don't want to hear his answer.
I don't give a fuck about him.
Who's Brian Adidas?
Don't he make sneakers?
He's like Wahoo McDaniel. Is it Wahoo McDaniel or Wahoo McDaniels? And is it Brian Adidas or Brian Adidas?
It's Adidas.
I like Adidas better.
Yeah.
Trying to sell sneakers to all the boys backstage.
I like
Brian
to think
Adidas.
Wears a different pair of shoes to the ring.
NDMC song.
King Kong
The
Bundy, what are
kings
you,
of
like a
rock,
size 11?
there's none higher. Some MCs better call me sire.
Jim Cornette.
Sure.
The worst thing about professional wrestling is the preponderance of mediocrity. There is no tag team in professional wrestling that can rival the innovative technique and the astounding ability of My Midnight Express, and their competition consists of sissies and wandering whales.
I believe that Cornette really wrote that, yeah.
I was just going to say, they might have actually had him do that because he was friends with the magazines because he took pictures for him.
The wandering whales were all the chicks he was chasing.
Right.
Yeah, all the other ones are kind of, Magnum TA's is generic. Baby
I don't want
stuff.
baby faces. Babyface.
Jerry Lawler's is babyface stuff. Buzz Sawyer says, wrestling is screwed. I hate it. But I love beating up on people and having them and leaving them for dead. So he said, wrestling is screwed.
Yeah, fuck him. He had a shitty fucking finishing maneuver name. Worst finishing maneuver name ever.
Yeah, but you fast forward, what would it be like 34 years later? He's not lying now.
Yeah.
You know?
But he did like a superfly splash and he called it the jam sandwich. Dumbest fucking.
Oh, come on, that's funny.
That's stupid.
Did he do the peanut butter pile driver?
I was gonna say, he needs a partner who does that.
Yeah. You can get the peanut butter pile driver on page 17.
Just send a self-addressed stamp envelope.
Right.
The wrestler of the month in this month's magazine, and they're discussing him becoming the North American champion, is Butch Reed. So I guess we can talk about Butch Reed a little bit. Butch Reed underrated.
Very underrated.
Yeah. Very. He was. Where was he at in '86?
Mid-South.
Mid-South. So yeah.
And then I think very late in '86 is when he comes to the WWF, I believe.
So this is when they were trying to make him the new JYD.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a bad idea.
It was. He should have stayed a heel.
Yeah. Or just not try to make another black guy over. You know what I mean? Like, just let it be organic. JYD wasn't over because he was black. JYD was over because he was JYD.
Man.
You know what I mean? Like, but Butch is very underrated. And honestly, I know we're getting ahead of it, but I think at a time he was like, when him and Ron were together, he was a better worker than Ron, I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that natural character in WWE and WWF, if he wouldn't flaked out or whatever, I think it would have been a big deal, I think.
Yeah, and at this time, like I said, we're just, in 1986, he's in Mid-South. Like you said, it's kind of it was a mistake that they made a lot. Bill Watts tried so many times after JYD left to make a new JYD, and like Aaron said, he wasn't over because he was black. He was over because he was fucking charismatic as hell. And it just, they tried it with George Wells, Master G. It was just bad stuff. So the next thing in the magazine is the birthdays deal. So let's see if any of us have any wrestlers in this thing that have a birthday that we share with them. I don't. The closest to mine, because my birthday is October 4th. October 6th, Bruno Sammartino's birthday, apparently. Aaron's birthday is March 3rd. So let's see. The closest to Aaron's is March 2nd, Mike Von Erich.
Oh.
He might have died on your birthday. I would say.
God.
So sad he died on Aaron's birthday.
Mark, when's your birthday?
February 13th.
February 13th.
If anybody ever goes, Aaron Maxon, who'd he ever beat? It'd be like fucking Mike Von Erich.
On a birthday on a pole match.
February 13th. So the closest to yours is February 10th. The gentleman, Chris Adams.
Not too shabby.
Archie.
September 19th.
September 19. Flipping the pages here. Nope, nobody on the 19th, but you're in decent company. September 20th, both Greg Valentine and Tony Gurria have the same birthday.
Not bad.
It figures for Archie.
Lunch Lady and Butthead.
You're just jealous that the wrestlers that share my birthday are still alive.
I don't think Tony Gurria is still alive.
No, I don't think so either.
I bet he is.
I'm gonna look it up.
All right, you do that.
Go ahead. Funny that we brought up Mike Von Erich because we're going to be talking about the Parade of Champions, or the Parody of Champions.
Definitely parody
on the next WCW, and they were touting that as a thing for Mike because the fucking world class couldn't not fucking talk about goddamn tragedies. But anyway, we'll talk about that.
The next article, and I'm going to read the headline and then the summary of the article that they have at the beginning of it.
Nope, that bitch is still living.
I thought so. Tony Gurria is still kicking.
He's still kicking. It was Rene Goulet that died. That's what I was thinking of. Same difference.
They have created in this magazine a story that is much deeper than the story that WWF was actually presenting in this feud here. Because at this time in the WWF, Junkyard Dog is feuding with Terry Funk.
Right.
So the headline is Junkyard Dog puts the bite on Terry Funk. Listen to this. Junkyard Dog has a score to settle with Terry Funk, one that stretches back some 400 years and began when the first black natives were kidnapped from their African villages and sold as slaves in the New World. It's a bill
serious?
that has been accrued in interest that will be paid in Funk's blood. They just went there.
Whoa.
I'm pretty sure I never saw this on TNT.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. There's something you wouldn't see in today's wrestling.
Dear Lord.
Damn.
They were smart enough not to even do that on TV.
So going back to this period of time, 1986, of course, JYD is one of those guys that, you know, you're probably going to be able to say, and I know we make fun of sometimes of people that say, hey, once somebody got to the WWF, they sucked, because they didn't. But you have to admit, JYD, not that he wasn't good in the WWF, but he was better in Mid-South.
He was cooler. He had a badass gimmick.
But it's also not entirely the fact that the WWF diminished JYD. JYD diminished himself a lot because of poor diet and extracurricular activities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like JYD turned into not the JYD that they hired when they hired him, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
Like I wouldn't have put the rocket on JYD if I would have been Vince McMahon and he started looking like he looked and doing what he was doing, because he wasn't dependable.
He was still charismatic as hell.
He was, but I don't want to disparage anybody that's not around anymore or whatever, but you get what I'm saying. It's almost like the reason why Jake Roberts never had a belt. Is he gonna show up tomorrow? Are we gonna find him? Like not like find him like sleeping somewhere, but like are we gonna find him? You know what I mean? Like,
are we gonna find him expired somewhere?
Yeah.
Mark, I know you were a huge fan of JYD.
Yes, I am.
This time again, he's feuding with Terry Funk in the WWF. I think it's WrestleMania 2 when it's JYD and Tito versus the Funks. Terry and Hoss.
I'll fact check that real quick.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It is.
No, not WrestleMania 2023, you idiot.
And how about you, Archie? JYD in the WWF?
Look, I get it. You want, at that point in time when they were starting to really pick up steam with the WWF and everybody became a cartoon character and fun-loving. Even the heels were, doing some funny cartoony antics. But to go from what the picture is on that magazine, I said it when we talked about, talking about this magazine. He went from the original Godfather to, Beavis and Butthead. Everything was funny. Everything was dancing. Everything was, wearing a dog collar and bumping heads and asses and things. I just didn't understand it. And I don't know if Vince just didn't know how to book him, or like Aaron said, maybe they were afraid that he was, not reliable, or if that's what he wanted for his career. Because maybe he wanted children to adore him.
It had to be whether or not, because you look back at how over he was. And I'm going to use WrestleMania 1 as an example. I know that goes back to 85, and we're talking about 86. But going into, I'm sure that anybody that was a wrestling fan in 1985, I can't remember if it was even on my radar. I was like 6 or 7 years old at that point.
Right.
But so I wouldn't have been thinking like a smart fan or like a hardcore fan. But anybody that went into WrestleMania 1 had to be convinced that JYD was going to beat Greg Valentine for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Look at his push. Look at how over he is. And then he doesn't beat Greg Valentine for the Intercontinental Championship. And it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to go into current product, but you look at what the WWE just did with Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. They had me convinced that Sami Zayn was going to win. And, they didn't. Okay, you want to keep it on Roman. In the same regard, at this point in time, Greg Valentine had the Intercontinental title for so long, it was sort of like, okay, let Junkyard Dog beat him. He's got the push. He's got the fans behind him. We need a face champion for at least 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And move on to the next pay-per-view. Let him keep it till the next pay-per-view even.
I just think I think it was the dependability and outside the business.
You may be right. You may be right.
I think.
But had they, my God, that place would have erupted.
Yeah, he would have been over more so.
Over like Rover, in the words of Nate Maxson.
So when Junkyard Dog crashed his car in like '98, was Funk like, whew, I don't have to pay them reparations now.
Oof.
My blood is safe again.
So the next article is about Rick Rude coming into world class.
Smooth operating, baby.
Essentially, the gist of the article, and again, this is the wrestling magazines back then kind of made up their own stories, as you can see with the Terry Funk JYD debacle. But the gist of the story is that Rick Rude says essentially the Von Erichs paid him a bunch of money to come into world class to help them out, and then when he got there, they wouldn't even give him the time of day, so they stabbed him in the back. Here's where this headline, this summary of the article goes wrong. And you'll know what I mean when I say a key word here. Rick Rude's claim, the Von Erichs stabbed me in the back. And I know they didn't know ahead of time, but you look at it now and you're like, whoa. Why is Rick Rude committing potential suicide by challenging the indomitable Von Erichs on their home turf? Oof.
So let me get this straight. In
Hindsight.
1986, in 1986, it was socially acceptable to talk about suicide and slavery in a magazine. Openly.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was
Oh,
nothing,
yeah.
not a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, I'm happy I was only 5. Damn.
Yeah, I was like, man, that just, it's
Considering what the Von Erichs already been through.
At this point, David was dead, but it wasn't by suicide. So,
But still, my God.
Rude comes in there, he's like a bunch of horse-faced liars.
he does actually call them mothers. He's like,
mothers?
Yeah, the line is, these mothers stabbed me in the back, Rude screams.
One of my favorite wrestling pictures ever isn't even in a fucking wrestling arena or a fan thing or anything. It's fucking Vader and Rude, and
with the gun.
Fucking Rude's got that gun. That's one of my favorite pictures ever. I fucking love that picture.
Like who did Vader and Rude have to prove they were badass to by taking that picture?
Right. The funniest thing about it is, since it's the 90s, they're both in like windbreakers.
Rude's in a mobster tracksuit.
Yeah, with the whole teal and purple color scheme shit.
Yeah.
Like
God, that was so horrible looking back on it now.
Geo tracker.
Yeah. That color scheme was so horrible looking back on it now.
Who was dumb enough to call on Vader and Rude? We got to take this picture and send it there, brother.
Rude's run in World Class though was like the last good thing World Class did. Like his run in World Class as champion with Percy Pringle as his manager.
They were awesome together.
It was good shit, pal.
It's in my notes for the World Class show we're gonna do, but like Percy Pringle was homosexual Bobby Heenan.
Oh my God, that's good. Oh my God, that's good.
And I know William Moody wasn't a homosexual, but that's what his character was. It was.
Oh, you and I talked about. Well, I forget what show we did. Was it your show or something? We talked about just recently. There's no way, shape, or form that the intent by William Moody was not that the Percy Pringle III character was gay.
Yeah.
That was his intent. Like he did things to purposely make those hillbilly wrestling fans, those intolerant hillbilly wrestling fans, like, you queer, he did that shit on purpose.
Yeah, it's homosexual Bobby Heenan.
And he was great.
Yes, he was.
He was a fucking heat magnet.
Then he went from doing that to, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I don't want to keep talking about that WCCW show, but it's just in my mind. When they boo him on that show, he's like, "Shut your goddamn mouth."
Okay. The sports review interview in this month's issue is with the man who has recently won the AWA Tag Team Championships with Steve Regal, not William Regal, the other Steve Regal. It is an interview with Jim Garvin.
Yeah.
Aaron ready cover to cover.
We already know how Aaron feels about Jimmy Garvin.
Fucking
Mark,
awesome.
What do you think about? What's your opinion of Jimmy Garvin?
I mean, I didn't hate him, but like he's not my top 10.
He's not my top 10 either, but I.
It's one of the.
I'm just saying. I said I didn't hate him. I mean, he's just not my top 10.
It's not this. It's not in this year, or it might be later in '86. Actually, it might be. One of the weirdest rivalries. I don't know why. It just didn't fit as a rivalry to me. Is in Crockett when they had Jim Garvin feud with Wahoo McDaniel. That might have actually been in '86.
I think it worked because he was like the flamboyant, cocky guy and the old Indian. It fucking worked for me.
Different strokes, different folks.
All right, the next thing. Here we go. It's time for the official wrestling ratings. So the top 10s from this month in 1986, and this is a wrestling magazine. So
somebody got pencil whooped.
It's gonna be very New
York.
It's gonna be very New York based.
There's also always a time differential with magazines. Between the cover date and when it actually hit the newsstands. So let's start with the top 10 wrestlers for this month, according to this magazine. For this February 1986 issue, number 10 is Kerry Von Erich. Number 8, Nikita Koloff. Or number 9, Nikita Koloff. Number 8, Magnum TA. Number 7, Rick Steamboat. Number 6, Tully Blanchard. Number 5, Terry Taylor. Number 4, Tito Santana. Surprisingly, number 3 is Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
Number 2 is Rick Martel, who at this time is, I believe, the AWA champion. We'll look at the AWA rankings. Yes, he is. And number 1 is Ric Flair. So they ranked Flair and Martel both over Hogan on this month in 1986.
Weird.
What, Martel beat Jumbo Saruta, I think, didn't he?
Yes. Did he beat Saruta or did he beat Stan Hansen?
I mean, I can look it up, but I think it was Saruta. I'd have to look it up.
Well, I mean, depending on the conversation you're having and about that with whom, some people might think that should be the case anyways.
Top 10 tag teams. Number 10, Al Perez and Wendell Cooley. The Mid-South Tag Team Champions.
When we did an episode of was it We Can't Wrestle, that we said something funny as hell about Wendell Cooley, and I forget what it was.
I forgot too.
I don't remember either. I'd have to.
When I heard the name, I was like, we cut him down or something. And it was hilarious.
Okay, Nate, you got it flipped. Well, I was correct. He defeated Jumbo Saruta, and he lost it to Stan Hansen.
No, and then Stan Hansen left the promotion and ran over the belt with a truck on his way out.
And then sent it back.
Yes, he ran over the belt with his truck and sent it back to God. Yeah.
he let fucking Stan Hansen left. He quit, took the belt with him, and they said, send the belt back or we're going to sue you. So he ran over with his fucking truck, and then he sent it back. And Bachwheel had to wear the belt or whatever, this fucking indent of his fucking truck in it.
It's great. Number 9 tag team, Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid.
Hell yeah.
Which they're on their way to win the WWF tag titles in a couple of months. Number 8, the U.S. Tag Team Champions, Wahoo McDaniel and Billy Jack Haynes. It's a weird team.
One of those is good. Stone Cold piece of shit.
Stone Cold piece of shit.
Number 7, Steve Kern and Stan Lane in a UFC style match. Stone Cold piece of shit.
Stone Cold piece of shit.
Wait a minute.
Woman beater. That's the greatest fucking video of YouTube.
Steve Kern teamed with both the Midnight Express in successful tag teams.
Hey, well, I thought we were nominating Billy Jack Haynes' wig this year. That didn't happen.
No, that's
the Hall of Shame.
That's Hall of Shame, and it's the first bronze statue in the Hall of Shame. It's Billy Jack's wig. Don't jump the gun. I got that.
Mark just spilled the beans, man.
I got that one and another one.
Spoiler alert.
And
They'll forget about it by then.
On the whatever you call it, on the plate that's on the trophy, it says Stone Cold piece of shit.
Yeah. We're gonna unveil them at the Lack of Performance Center.
You wife beating son of a bitch. Number 6, Ole and Arn Anderson. At least he wasn't wrong. I mean, he wasn't wrong. Stone Cold Steve Austin is a wife beater.
The It's not the NXT Performance Center. It's the Weak Ass T Lack of Performance Center.
I laughed from such a good place on that video.
It's in Ocala.
Sorry.
Number 6, Ole and Arn Anderson, the National Tag Team Champions.
Oh, yeah.
Ole had 5.
Ole had the best boots.
Number
like the. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. No, go ahead about with Ole because I was gonna say something about the next tag team.
Ole, for one, I'm a huge Ole Anderson fan. Like I've said it before about him. Like, and I've said this about people I've known in my life. It's like you can't be an asshole and not be funny. But if you're an asshole and you're funny, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? Right. And Ole is an asshole, but he's fucking funny. So I love that dude. But his boots were fucking cool back in the day. Like Nate, you know you guys know which boots I'm talking about?
The burgundy one?
Yeah, and then they had like the brown stripes on them. I don't know why. Yeah. They were fucking cool to me, but they were. And like the entire Anderson clan was cool. Like they had the fucking weirdest names. Like, are they Nordic? Like, what's going on with these guys? Right. And fucking Ole's like an asshole, and Arn's funny, and fucking Lars doesn't look like any of them. And fucking
Milkman's baby.
Gene's fucking like actual
twitching in the background.
Like his actual medical condition fucking made him look fucking menacing as shit.
He looked like an evil mad scientist for some reason.
Fucking family was great.
But back to the boots, the only thing missing from them were disco lights, and on the back of them say "wanna fuck."
Anderson would be like, "I don't have time for that."
But I love that fucking crew, man.
All
of them were good.
The number 5 tag team here is low key one of my favorite tag teams of all time.
I would say low key. He started that early.
No. But these guys are one of my favorite tag teams of all time. It's at the time they were the number 1 contenders for the world class tag team titles, Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez. They were so good together.
Yeah, tragic ending to that one.
I recently rewatched their breakup, and when Gino was like, "I'm here to help you. I want to help you," and he's trying to smacking him in the face at the same time. You know?
Yeah.
Let me help you. Let me help
Let me
you.
help you. Right.
Let me help you. God damn it.
Chris is just sitting there dumbfounded, like, "What do I do?" And then he just falls off and punches him in the face.
The number 4 team, the aforementioned Jim Garvin and Steve Regal. Number 3, the WWF Tag Team Champions, Greg Valentine and Bruce Beefcake. Number 1, the NWA World Tag Team Champ, or number 2, the NWA World Tag Team Champions, Ivan and Nikita Koloff. And the number 1 tag team, the Road Warriors.
Uncle Ivan.
Uncle Ivan was great.
And he's one of the
I'm not a big fan of Nikita. Nikita annoys me.
I like Nikita.
I know.
No, I like Nikita.
But Uncle Ivan,
it's
not this is gonna sound silly when I say it. But Uncle Ivan is like the Owen Hart of his generation. And when I say that, I'm not saying it was the same quality of work or whatever, even though Ivan was a great wrestler. But I have never heard anybody say anything bad about Ivan Koloff. Ever.
And for his style, his work was always good.
Yeah, like I never heard anybody say he was selfish or rude or didn't give anything to anybody that needed it or anything like that. Like he seemed like he's like one of the most respected guys in the history of fucking wrestling, and everybody fucking loved him.
Well, did you hear the story about some cause needed money or something, and he donated one of his chains?
I didn't actually.
Yeah. And fun fact about Nikita, I know Nate doesn't like him, but he's a traveling evangelist now, and he still does. He's got 2 younger guys that's working a Russian gimmick now that he manages.
Yeah, and it's not even so much. It's not even so much that I don't. Nikita isn't a wrestler where I would say I don't like him. I just am not a fan of him. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like I'm very passive about Nikita Koloff. He just does. He had a great look and stuff. He just never did anything for me, and his promos annoy me. I don't like he has the worst Russian accent I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah, he sounds like an Italian trying to do a Russian accent.
And again, I'm just saying, like, I know why some people liked him, and I can see why they pushed him because he looked like a fucking $1 million and a monster. He just was not my cup of tea.
Arn hated him. Arn hated him because he even kayfabed like the Russian shit when he was with the boys. Like he talked the Russian accent or whatever. And Arn was like, "Would you cut it out? We all know you're Scott Sampson from Minnesota."
I'm just trying to eat at the fucking Waffle House, and you're over there like, "I want blueberry pancakes."
What's your pancakes? I imagine it like Cat Williams when he's talking about hanging with DMX. And DMX like,
right.
"Yo, bring me some water."
Yo, bitch, can I get a glass of water?
The fuck are you hollering for?
Yeah, Arn's like, Waffle House.
It's 4 a.m.
That waitress is scared. You're gonna have to tip her extra.
I liked him better as a heel, Nate. When he turned face and him and Sting became best buddies, it was a little annoying because his reasoning for turning heel was because he saw the fear in children's eyes when he was beating Sting to a bloody pulp.
Yeah,
and it's like, but you're a heel. Why does that matter to you? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, it was all pretty silly. So here's the NWA top 10 for this month in 1986. Number 10, Lance Von Erich. Number 9, Rick Rude. Number 8, Harley Race. Remember, folks, at this point, the NWA still had, World Class and other promotions under the umbrella. Number 8, Harley Race. Harley Race by this point,
he's
almost ready. He's almost ready to go to the WWF
and be awesome.
And his fro is on point.
And he's gonna have my like second favorite Hulk Hogan match ever,
which is actually the match that ended his career.
Yeah,
well, his wrestling career, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Number 7, Wahoo McDaniel.
All right.
Number
You got
6,
mentioned a lot this episode.
Nikita Koloff.
Hell
Number
yeah.
5, Dusty Rhodes, baby.
Hell yeah.
Baby.
Number 4, Magnum TA.
Hell yeah.
Number 3, Kerry Von Erich.
All right.
Number 2, Terry Taylor.
Hell yeah. I like
Number
Terry.
1, Tully Blanchard.
Hell fucking yeah.
And the NWA World Champion, of course, is Ric Flair.
Hell to the motherfucking yeah.
I think I've said this before on other shows that we've done. I always wanted a peaceful feud between Tully and Rick. Not like a blood and guts or them trying to, beat the hell out of each other just because. I wanted them to just have like maybe a best of 2 out of 3 falls, but in, separate cities, because Tully always like was just under Flair. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they could have had a good feud because they were both great on the mic. They both knew how to, talk about how great they were. And, I have this much money and my clothes cost more than you. And they always had a woman on their arm.
Well,
so I think they could have had a nice monkey see, monkey do feud.
And that would have been could have happened, but never was because of circumstances. Because you definitely could have done that at some point after Arn went back,
right,
in '89. But Tully didn't get to go back. If
right.
Tully would have got to go back, you probably couldn't have done it during the epitome of the
early
Horseman
part, right? Exactly, because they were all too close. You know what I mean? There was no way they were going to challenge for the world title over Flair unless they were throwing him out of the group. So, but once they would have came back and after Flair woman joined them and you could have had a woman getting in Flair's ear and saying, Tully's trying to one up you. You know what I mean? Arn trying to be the peacemaker and then them having a great feud and then going back to normal afterwards. Don't gotta, don't gotta break them up, but you just let him fight for the title a little.
Nate, I'm a huge Tully Blanchard fan, and and you and I have debated that you've sometimes said like you didn't think he was as cool as I thought he was or whatever. But the funniest thing with him is talking about him trying to go back to WCW.
Yes,
and then he's like, the WWF fucked me. It's like, well, if you wouldn't have done coke,
right. It was the coke that fucked you, not the WWF.
If you wouldn't have done it, if you wouldn't have been like they drug tested him because he was an asshole. Okay, everybody will tell you that. Like, he was an asshole. He'll tell you I was an asshole. You know what I mean? So he was an asshole. They knew he did coke, so they said, "Fuck him. He's being a prick. Let's drug test him." If he would have never done the coke or been an asshole, he would have got money from WCW.
Right. Let's be honest,
Jim Herd, Aaron. Out of all the things people have ever said about Jim Herd didn't fuck Tully Blanchard. He did everything else, but Jim Herd didn't fuck Tully Blanchard, and Vince McMahon didn't fuck Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard fucked Tully Blanchard.
But let's be honest, back then, Aaron, they weren't exactly drug testing constantly and trying to prove anybody was on drugs. And because he was an asshole, the WWF drug tested him and then released what he had in his system.
Okay.
They could have just drug tested him and been like, okay, you're fired, get out.
What I'm saying is, if you're negotiating a multi-million-dollar contract, how about you don't take a toot until you sign the paperwork?
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you to a certain extent, but they didn't have to release what was in his system when he was being let go anyway. He was leaving anyway. So,
don't toot.
Well, I mean, if I got drug tested every time I was an asshole, I'd stay pissing in the cup.
True.
Nate about choked on his beer.
That's the only thing I'll say is when Tully bitches about that, I'm like, you fucked up, man.
Oh yeah, it's the thing. It's like you did it to yourself. It's like
Brian Pillman when they kept drug testing him in WWF and he was getting mad at Jim Ross for.
Well, it's in any field. The 2016 election, Hillary Clinton's like, they leaked all my emails. Well, if you didn't send the emails, they wouldn't have any emails to leak. It's like, wait, hold on.
You're pissed off about collusion. Don't collude.
Right.
Right.
The WWF rankings this month in 1986, number 10, King Kong Bundy. You're going to notice a stark difference between the roster of the NWA and the WWF.
One's
number 9.
And one's flashier.
Number 9, Big John Studd.
Ugh.
Number 8, we talked about him earlier, JYD.
Oh, yeah.
Number 7, Terry Funk.
Hell's yeah.
Number 6, Paul Orndorff.
Hell's yeah.
I don't feel very wonderful.
Number 5, Randy Savage.
Hell's fucking yeah.
Number 4, Rick Steamboat.
Hell's yeah.
Number 3, Roddy Piper.
Hell's to the motherfucking
yeah.
Number 2, it's all coming down. Magnificent Morocco.
Yeah, it's boy right there.
Number 1, Tito Santana, and of course the WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan.
Fucking Morocco, that dude.
One of the greatest promos in wrestling history.
He is, and he's slowly becoming one of the they like back in the day when we talk about like, oh man, Ernie Ladd died or this guy died. Like we're slowly approaching that.
Yeah.
Of the upper echelon of guys that we're talking about on these like top 10s that can like speak to that, and he's still around. I wish he would be. I don't know what his health conditions or whatever are, but he seems like a guy that would have a lot of great fucking stories and would be able to tell them great. You know what I mean?
Let's see here. I'm trying to keep it a little around an hour, so we'll get here. The AWA. It's funny because you but the funniest thing about it is, okay, the AWA is probably, I've said it a million times, probably the major promotion in the history of wrestling that I watched the least.
Fucking sucked.
The way that it was booked, the way that it was promoted. But then listen to this. It's like, how do you have these people and not have a banger promotion? Listen to this. Number 10, Kurt Hennig. Number 9, Greg Gagne. Number 8, Boris Zukov. Number 7, Scott Hall. Number 6, Michael Hayes. Number 5, Nick Bockwinkel. Number 4, Jim Garvin. Number 3, Larry Zbyszko. Number 2, Stan Hansen. Number 1, Sergeant Slaughter. And the champions, Rick Martel. How do you have that talent and fuck it up?
Because they had Grandpa running it.
Right.
You're right. Vern, there are parallels you can draw every single day between old Vern and old Vince.
If you kind of went with him, but if number 9 would have been running that company, it would have been different. Who was number 9?
Greg Gagne.
If Vern Gagne would have stepped aside and just said, "I'll be the money guy and I'll be the face," like Vern Gagne is the president, but he let Greg run that company, would have been totally different. Totally different. Because Greg Gagne, say what you want to say about him, but he knew what the fuck was going on. And I think it would have been, the AWA would be talked about completely different. Like they would have still gone into the 90s and everything, in my opinion. Like the Midnight Rockers wanted to be the Midnight Rockers, and Vern Gagne was like chairs. Like don't you think people are gonna think of chairs? Like rocking chairs. Like that's what he thought.
Because he wasn't hip to it, bro.
Yeah, I just, that was the biggest problem with the biggest problem with the AWA was Vern Gagne. And I'm not disrespecting Vern Gagne, because if you look at it in the 60s and 70s and even into like right before Hogan left, the AWA wasn't terrible.
No,
it wasn't my cup of tea, but it didn't change.
No, it turned into the ass wiping association.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
like for real, like towards the end, it really did turn into the ass wiping association.
It's just, I just think that I really do. I think if Greg would have taken it over, they would have decided we don't. I'm not saying Nick Bockwinkel and Vern and these guys didn't serve their purpose, but really actually start being progressive with their stories, they would have been better, I think.
Right. I mean, it's like the conversation comes up every so often in certain groups. But certain older people that's been in the business be like, oh, that shit they're doing now is bullshit. That don't work. And I mean, at some point, the business has to evolve. You know what I'm saying? And
it does. But I mean, there's also the aspect. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I know that like they say the old shit didn't work, but the old shit worked for a reason because it worked.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, Vern's problem was not necessarily changing the formula of the storylines, because there's 10 wrestling storylines. Really, there's just 10 of them. But you gotta change the faces and the heels of the situation, and you gotta kind of tweak it a little bit. And he didn't want to do that.
Right.
Like, this is 1986. Fucking Nick Bockwinkel's on the list, and I don't even mind Nick Bockwinkel, but no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what did Bobby call it when he went in the Hall of Fame? He goes, and then I went to work for the AWA, which stood for all the world's assholes.
Well, the world class top 10 here. Number 10, Kabuki. Number 9, Bruiser Brody.
Take the money.
Number 8, Chris Adams. Number 7, Lance Von Erich. Number 6, Kevin Von Erich. Number 5, Iceman Parsons. Number 4, Gino Hernandez. Number 3, Kerry Von Erich. Number 2, Brian Adidas. And number 1, of course, is Rick Rude, because he is the world-class champion, I believe, at this point.
And a smooth operator.
There's not, in this magazine, there's nothing. We've got to the point, those of you that are, if you're watching this, you liked wrestling magazines. So you know that everything else is just all the articles continued from page. So we'll finish up these top 10s and we'll be able to wrap it up. At this time in Mid-South, number 10, Eddie Gilbert.
Hells yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hot stuff, baby, this evening. Oh.
Number 9, Buzz Sawyer.
Yeah.
Number 8, Dick Murdoch.
Hells yeah.
Number 7, Steve Williams.
Hell's fucking yeah.
Number 6, I don't know who's playing Humongous at this point. It's not Sid yet, but Humongous.
This is 86.
86. I don't think it's Sid yet. Number 5 is Jake Roberts. Number 4 is Ted DiBiase. Number 3 is Hacksaw Duggan. Number 2 is Dick Slater. And number 1, of course, is Butch Reed. Mid-South always, they always had the hard-hitting wrestlers back then. They had the obviously the more hard-hitting style, the more hard-hitting booking style of Bill Watts. Let's see.
What year is this magazine from? 86?
Yes. The cover date's February 86.
Okay.
Jake's about to leave because by WrestleMania 2, he's in the WWF. Hacksaw's about to leave. Dick Slater's about to leave.
Nate?
Yes.
Apparently the guy under the mask during the 86 to 87 period was a guy named Jeff Van Camp.
The bean guy.
I just said that. The bean guy, Van Camp's baked beans.
That's what it says.
The bean guy. I think it's fucking funny. We always thought this.
The
We didn't
first guy
almost
that
the same thing. We said the same exact thing.
The bean
first
guy.
guy who played him. The first guy who played him was Mike Stark.
Okay.
Then Jeff Van Camp. And when Jeff Van Camp took over the character, he was using War Machine by Kiss. And then Sid took it in 87.
You know why he got fired, don't you?
Huh?
You know why Van Camp got fired, don't you?
Why?
He spilled the beans.
You broke kayfabe, brother. You spilled the beans.
He spilled the beans.
All right, Florida. Number 10. Number 10 in Florida at this time is Jack Hart. Is that Barry Horowitz? I know he wrestled as Bret Hart, but would he?
It is.
Okay.
This is not Barry Rose's figure roster, I promise you. The Florida territory.
Number 9, they're not even calling him Lex yet, which is kind of funny. It's Larry Luger.
Larry Luger.
Larry Luger.
Larry Luger.
Imagine if he would have kept it. The total package, Larry Luger.
All them ladies would have been like, Larry's so sexy.
Sexy Larry.
Sexy Larry. There's those certain names that just don't work.
Nope.
I can't hear you, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go.
All right. He definitely would have had to keep the mullet.
All day long.
Larry Luger, that just sounds like fucking Billy Ray Cyrus mullet all day.
Right.
All of his gimmicks would have been great with that name. The total package, Larry Luger. Made in the USA, Larry Luger. The narcissist, Larry Luger.
I know. Vince would have put the world title on him against Yokozuna had his name been Larry. That's all I'm saying.
Larry.
He might have even co-starred in Joe Dirt had that been the case.
Right.
There's just certain names that don't work. Like you're never gonna hear like some lady like, put it in me, Larry, or give it to me, Larry.
You might hear Sheik say something about Larry.
Number 8, Tyree Pride.
Who?
Tyree Pride was Hades' gift to professional wrestling. He was actually over. He was actually over down there.
I know, but
in Florida and all that. Number 7, Bob Roop.
Who?
Bob Poop.
Number 6, Blackjack Mulligan.
All right.
Number 5, here he comes, your district manager, Mike Graham. Mike Graham looks like a district manager.
Mike Graham.
No, Mike Graham was he was a little wrestling machine. Don't get me wrong.
Wrestling machine and a bad fucking ass.
But he looked like he was going to go with you on a walk.
But it's like fucking Ray Rougeau. You know what I mean? Like you look at the guy and you don't think he's like gonna be like this Billy Badass, but everything you hear about him is like that guy will, like you look around the locker room like that guy will fuck you up. Like don't mess with him. Like fucking Mike Graham told Chris Benoit, we're not gonna talk about Chris Benoit, and Benoit was bitching about Sullivan, and he looked at him and said, "You know what? You should respect that guy because if you would have done that to me, I'd put your fucking head on a spike."
God.
But anyway, go ahead.
Number 4, Barry Windham.
Hell yeah.
Number 3, Kevin Sullivan.
Hell yeah.
Number 2, Kendall Windham.
Meh.
And number 1, Wahoo McDaniel.
All right.
Yeah.
So now we're going to, they call it Mid-Southern here, but obviously this is Memphis. 86. Number 10. God, even at this time he was ancient. Tojo Yamamoto.
He's
like Tojo's one of those guys that was always old. Like I've never seen Tojo Yamamoto young. Like every time I've ever seen Tojo Yamamoto, he was always old. I'm not saying he wasn't over. I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying
he was short and fat, and I mean, every time we saw him, he was old because he fucking trained like Jerry Jarrett.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And But Tojo wasn't like the greatest worker in the world, but he didn't need to be at the time when he was in it. And he's hitting people with his wooden shoe and shit. But he's almost like a Jody Hamilton, where I didn't see a lot of his shit, because it was back. And I don't want to say, I'm not saying shit like it was shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot
he was an influencer of the people that we did see.
Yeah, and he trained so many fucking people. It's insane.
Number 9, Taurus Bulba. Taurus Bulba. I don't remember who played Taurus Bulba.
That's Fat Terry Boulder. It's a Fat Hulk Hogan. I don't know.
Fat Hulk Hogan.
Want to get some Krispy Kreme, brother?
So we covered Black Hulk Hogan and Fat Hulk Hogan.
Junkyard Boba. Number 8 is Stan Lane. I'm not going to argue with Stan Lane. Number 7, Phil Hickerson.
Damn.
Number 6, and if you listen to Cornette will tell you about Phil Hickerson.
I don't care.
Number 6, Coco Ware.
That's the thing about Cornette. I love him and he's funny, but not everything he says is accurate.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is Jim Cornette has a perspective on things that we've never seen that puts it in perspective.
I understand that, but I don't have a problem with Cornette. I have a problem with Cornette's fan base. Cornette could go on TV, go on his fucking podcast tomorrow and be like, Randy Savage sucked. And then all the Cornette would be like, Randy Savage is the worst.
Yeah. I find it highly ironic, and I agree with him about MAGA people, but I find it highly ironic that Cornette talks about MAGA people and Trump, and his people are just like Trump people are for Trump, like they just, whatever Cornette says, they're like, meh. I understand. But yeah, I'm just saying from a historical perspective.
Okay. Well, I'm not knocking anything that Phil Hickerson ever probably did historically, but he still sucked.
I love how Nate felt the need to do the sheep sound.
That's what they are.
I mean, I understand that Superstar Billy Graham was historic and changed a lot about the wrestling business and influenced a lot of different wrestlers and the look and the change of the wrestler. But guess what? I'm going to tell you about Superstar Billy Graham. Fucking sucked. Go ahead.
Number 5 is Dutch Mantel.
Fucking yeah.
Number 4, Steve Kern.
Hell yeah.
Number 3, Harley Race.
Hell fucking yeah.
Number 2, of course, one of my favorites of all the times, Jerry the King Lawler.
Hell yeah.
And number 1, Bill Dundee. Daddy.
Little
one of my, I love it. I love the like, when do you ever call? Only in wrestling can a man call another man daddy, and it's not weird.
What?
Hard times, daddy.
Like, have you ever pull up to? You guys ever pull up to pick up your buddy to go out to eat or something? You're like, get in the car, daddy.
Hell no.
That's what I'm saying. Like, only in a wrestling promo
or in a fight. Like, if there was like a bar fight and two guys would hit each other, and the one guy was like, "I'm gonna beat your fucking ass," and that guy was like, "Bring it on, daddy." Everybody in the bar would be like,
"The fuck?"
Like, even the jukebox would stop. Like Tim McGraw would be like, "Who said shut the jukebox? You some man.
You shook me all night."
Yeah, like
record screeches. I wonder how you want. I bet you're wondering how I got here. I said the wrong thing.
Like pride and joy. Oh my lit, huh? Did you say daddy? The other one's a baby.
That's a good fight deterrent.
Right? Yeah, try to beat my ass, daddy. Whoa. Never mind. How like
you got
remember on Friday when Debo's like, you want some of this, old man? And the dude's like, no. That's what I'd be like. You want to fight me, daddy? No.
You're calling me daddy. I don't want to have nothing to do with you or your ass. Leave me alone.
Like I said, the other one's baby.
Yeah.
But baby's a little more socially acceptable because it could be a put down. You know what I mean? Like, come on, you baby. You know, it's a little more tougher. But
they don't say in wrestling. They don't say "come at me." Yeah, baby. They say, come at me, baby.
Right.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Yeah. Unless that's my partner and I have to tag him.
I have issues with that movie. Don't bring up that movie.
In the terms of the new generation, that's sus. Oh.
Well, you guys want to do Continental and Northwest?
Do Continental.
All right, Continental.
I don't care about Northwest, but do Continental.
We might do it anyway just to round out so we can say we did
Northwest,
the whole thing.
Funny names and I'm in.
Right? Northwest would be Portland.
Yeah. All right. Number 10, Roy Welch.
Yeah.
Number 9 is a guy. Now, I have not in my life watched a lot of Continental until
Roy Welch is related to the Fullers, and that's a great clan of wrestlers.
Oh, okay.
Do they make the grape juice?
I have.
That's Welchers, not Welch.
Did you say they make a great deuce?
Yeah. Do they
grape juice?
Do they make the grape juice?
It's funny because Aaron heard
Deuce.
What did you hear?
I heard deuce,
and I heard gray goose, but then I was like, no, he meant grape juice.
Yeah. Damn Southern dialect.
I hadn't watched a lot of Continental in my life until a couple of years ago. Chad Austin, who's a big fan of Continental, said,
"These
watch
are like
some Continental."
People. These are like your people, Mark.
So,
because where do you live?
They're not my people.
No, I'm saying, where do you live?
Georgia.
This is Alabama.
That's not my people.
It's close.
They hunt cousins over there. We don't do that over here.
Do you realize that Georgia and Alabama have been having a war in football for years? Like the Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah.
You said those are your people. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He just called me daddy.
It's like
I'm just saying, this is your region. This is your region, man.
But like I was saying, I started a couple of years ago watching Continental, like watching it through. Like I found a YouTube page where guy has like 84 through 88 Continental, and because on Chad's recommendation, I started watching it. And the reason I come to this is number 9 on this list is a guy named Bill Ash, who I never even knew existed until I started watching this week-to-week Continental Wrestling. This dude he doesn't look great. He has just a very average look. Great heel. He's such a good heel.
Kind of like Chad Austin.
Yeah. Number 8 is the Bullet. So I'm sure at this point there was Bob was like, the whole Dusty Midnight Rider. They did that story down there, so Bob would always be the Bullet.
Well, it's when Bob fucked up his face.
Yeah. Well, but they also did the angle like 4 times, just like Dusty did with the Midnight Rider.
I know why Aaron heard Deuce now. His camera's off, so he had to take one.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Number 7. If you've never seen him, folks, look him up. One of the funniest built wrestlers of all time, Roberto Soto.
No, funny looking. Check him out because I've never seen him.
Funny looking build on that guy.
He just sounds like he's built funny.
Right.
Number 6, Brad Armstrong.
Okay.
Number 5, Robert Fuller.
Hell yeah.
Number 4, Jimmy Golden.
Hell fucking yeah.
Number 3, somebody say something about getting fired up. It's Tommy Rich.
Yeah, baby.
That's who you said right before. One of the best tag teams ever, I think.
Fuller and Golden, yes, they were fantastic. Number 2, Exotic Adrian Street.
Oh, yeah.
And number 1 is, and for those of you that don't know, I will explain, it's the Flame. In Continental, the Flame was actually an alternate identity for the assassin.
Jody Hamilton. We just talked about Jody Hamilton for a second.
Yes.
Point of order. If a guy with the name The Flame ever called me daddy, I'd run the other way.
You would know why they call him the Flame.
Right.
They'd be calling Archie the Streak.
Right.
Boogity.
Why'd that guy run away so fast?
Why they call him the Streak. I have a buddy whose name is literally Ray Stevens, and that's what I call him. What's up, Streak?
Don't look, Ethel.
So, we'll just do it just to say we did it. Round it off. Northwest, that would be the Portland territory. Number 10, Alexis Smirnoff.
I like his vodka.
Yeah.
Number 9, a guy that I always hear from, like, and you guys know, I have lots of conversations with historians and stuff, and this is a guy that I always hear so much about, but I haven't seen a lot of, that he was really good, is Chris Colt.
Never saw him. Nah.
He did like the gay biker gimmick thing or whatever.
Well, but yeah, and I mean, like I said, I don't
think it was a gay biker gimmick. I think he was gay and he did a biker gimmick.
I've always heard that
What if he was a biker and just did it as gay?
I don't know. That's what I remember about him.
Number 8 is somebody I've never even heard of. Chad probably has. Steve Pardee, Pardee. Number 7, another guy I've never heard of. Scott Doring.
No.
Any relation to Danny Doring?
I was gonna say his kid was Danny, I think.
Yeah, that might be the only thing we know about him.
Number 6. Aaron, you listen to you're a 605 guy like me. Back when there was actually 605s.
There hasn't been one in, I think, like 10 years.
Number 6 is Mega Maharishi, the guy that Jerry Gray did, the gimmick that Jerry Gray did that he talked about?
I think so.
Okay. Number 5, Moondog Moretti.
Italian Moondog.
And let me tell you, a woof.
There's Moondog Spot, Moondog Rex, Moondog Maine, Moondog. Did I say Moondog Spot? All right.
Yeah.
Moondog Moretti. What's he got
in
his mouth?
They all got bones in their mouth. He's got a meatball.
Instead of bark, he's like Barkasera.
He's got a fucking cannoli instead of like a fucking.
On this, the day of my puppy's wedding.
Aaron.
On this,
they all wore.
Huh?
Aaron, they all wore chains around his neck. He's got one of those little Italian peppers on his.
Or one of those horns.
Yeah, the horn. That's the pepper, the horn. Yeah.
Yeah, the horn.
the greasy blonde hair they all had. His is slicked back. His face is wide.
I love Italian Moondog. He's got the horn and a cannoli.
I'm gonna make you an offer, Wolf, that you won't refuse, Wolf.
Woof.
He's got the.
So I just got in an argument the other day.
He's got the cut off jeans, but he's like wearing like silk socks and some black.
I just got in an argument the other day with somebody, or not an argument, but a discussion the other day. We're not going to spend a million hours on this, so just give me the definitive. But I contended with this person, and I know my present company here can give me their opinion. I contended with this person that of the first 2, because I don't even bring 3 into the conversation, but of the first 2, Godfather 2 is the superior film.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Here's why.
Oh, he
as
was like
great as
he
part
was,
one.
and I love them both. Don't get me wrong. And this
Yes.
guy was like ready to die on the hill that the first Godfather is the superior, and
No.
they're both
Part
fantastic.
one is great. It's a fantastic film. But part two, showing you young Vito and Michael taking power and everything that goes on with him killing Carlo and the beating that Carlo takes from Sonny, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was a real masterpiece. You know, I don't know, Nate, you obviously are a Godfather fan.
Yes.
Have you ever watched The Offer, the movie, the series about the
Yes.
making of the Godfather?
Yes.
Okay, everything about that was fantastic. And then when he leaves before they start filming part two, I'm like, why? You know what I mean? Like that was wow. You did such a great job on part one, but part two was so much better.
Yeah,
So
I
what
remember. I
happened?
remember when I watched it, thinking, "Man, I hope they do another one."
Me too. But yeah, part two is the superior film.
Like one of my favorite scenes ever in a movie is when Vito kills Don Finucci or whatever in that hallway.
Yep.
Like when he fucking fires that, like he takes the ball out and fucking fires it, and his fucking towel catches on fire, and he's gonna put that shit out. He's had enough. He's had enough of this fucking guy. You know what I mean? He's like, fuck, like he's got, like, his character is just trying to fucking
just trying to survive.
I'm just trying to survive, but I'm trying to be a good guy. Like, even when he loses his job, he tells the fucking guy running the store, "No, keep that food. I didn't pay for it. I don't want it.
I don't want
this
your
guy
handout."
is just like, I want my beak. I'm gonna with my beak, and he's just like, I've had a fucking enough. I'm gonna murder this son of a bitch, and he's so natural at it, like he shoots him in the fucking face, and he's like, oh shit, my arm's on fire, and he puts that out. But then by the time
he walks away.
By the time he gets up to the top of the roof, he's like, oh yeah, I gotta break this down.
He disassembles the gun, he's putting it down the chimneys.
I should have been doing this a long time ago.
All right, I didn't want to drag it into the Godfather thing, but back to Portland. Guy, I think I might have mentioned him on the show before. Number 4 in Portland at this time is Steve Simpson, and Steve and Sean Simpson are one of the teams or the acts from later World Class that were actually really over with me. I like the Simpson brothers. Number 3, Tom Zenk.
I like Tom Zenk.
The Z-Man.
I like Tom Zenk. Would have been a better heel, but I like Tom Zenk.
Number 2, Mike Miller.
He's all right.
Number 1, Bobby Jaggers.
Who?
Bobby Jaggers. He was one of the Kansas Jayhawks. Nate doesn't like him, and it's the reason he didn't watch the last match on the Hot Night and Boba Fett or whatever he watched. What was it?
Hot Night and Bayamon.
Yeah. See, so you didn't watch that match, Nate, so I didn't get to give you my joke. You know, I told you Philip LaFon was in that match.
Yes.
Well, it started raining, and they didn't have like good shit out on the soccer field, so it was all muddy. And so Phil LaFon gets dumped over the top rope, and he drops hard, like it's like boom, like he lands. And then he goes to get back in the ring, but he's got like mud all over the back of his pants.
So it looks like he shit himself.
Yeah, it looks like he got dropped over the top rope so hard he shit his pants. Anyway.
Well, gentlemen, I hope that you can say that you think, because I do. I think this first edition of this show was a success. The Pro Wrestling Magazine Spotlight.
It probably went more than that. It went 30 minutes more than you wanted. It's probably my fault.
Yeah, it's all right. It's cool.
Pony.
But I did like Italian Moondog. That was fun.
Yeah, that was good. That is good.
I didn't hear Chick Donovan, so I didn't pop.
I just think of that guy with like the little horn, or you called it a pepper.
Yeah.
But a little horn, a fucking cannoli. And he's not wearing cut off jeans. It's like cut off like dress.
It's like culottes, you know, the golf pants with golfers with the real, you know what I mean? His socks are pulled all the way up. He's got Italian loafers on. Like, how are you gonna wrestle in those? I show you.
Argyle sock.
I show you.
I show you. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
His finishing move is he takes off the shoe and hits them in the heel with the heel in the head, puts it back on, and spins them. You know what I mean?
I love that. I show you. I don't know why I love that so much.
I assure you, baby.
Meanwhile, the other Moondogs are sitting in the corner eating their bone, not talking, not cutting a promo.
He's like, what is that? This is the terrible cannoli.
Oh,
all right. Well, that is that. We're done. The first wrestling magazine spotlight is in the books. And again, like I said, this show will be exclusively on our WrestleNet Radio YouTube page.
On the books.
It is. It's a book right here.
It's in the book. I like
it's in the magazines. Yes.
We're in the books.
And I want to thank all these guys for joining me. Oh my. It's like George Takei. Oh my.
Oh my.
And we'll see everybody next time. And hopefully next time the beginning of it will flow better. But I think it really did. It did turn out well. And I want to thank you, gents, for joining me. And we will see everybody next time around as we continue our journey through some pro wrestling magazines here on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network YouTube page. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed the show.
Good night, everybody. Good night.